Hey guys, want to talk to you guys a little bit about bikes, new bikes, 2017. What are the best bikes to buy? 2017 mountain bikes. Um, so I get this question a lot from a lot of my friends. They always call me up and they're like, "Hey, looking at buying a new bike. I need your help. What should I get? What's the best I can get, and so on." Um, so let's see what some of these other places and what you can find on the interwebs. So this is Bike Mag, 11 of the best bikes for your money in 2017. So let's look at this for a second. These are meant for cross country trail riding. Um, if you're into downhill, then it's a little bit more specific. You should really just look at downhill bikes. But if you're the average person out there riding on trails, then a mix of a cross country slash trail bike is what you should be looking at. Okay, so 2017, what's new? What's good? So this is a Norco Fluid hardtail for 1,350. So this is just my take on it. If you're going to do some trail riding and some cross country riding, get with the times. Don't buy a hardtail. Get a full suspension rig. It's more comfortable. You're going to be able to ride longer and harder. I don't care what they do with geometry. A hardtail is not going to work. I've been in so many bike shops in my lifetime, and they say, "Oh man, but this hardtail, it almost feels like a full suspension." And I almost look at the guy like, "Dude, why are you lying? No hardtail feels like a full suspension. Not a single one. Not one in the entire world, unless it's broken, and it only feels like full suspension for one bump. No, but seriously, there's not a single hardtail that feels like full suspension. Don't ever let anybody tell you any different. So, cross country riding and slash trail riding, I would right away say no to hardtails. Um, that's just me, my own take. I have a hardtail. I ride it sometimes for fun. I guess you could say it that. But do I prefer to ride on a hardtail? No, absolutely not. If it's a flat dirt road or something, then I can go on a hardtail. But when you have technology like we have today with full suspension bikes the way they are, as efficient as they are in today's world, no, I'm not going to go ride hardtail. Anyways, I spent way too much time on the hardtail. That's a no for me. That looks nice, guys. The Marine Hawk Hill, that looks pretty good. 1,500 bucks. That's if you really, I remember back in the 90s. This was 1994, I believe, and I bought a bike for $2,100. It was a huge. I got a discount. I think it was like 2,600, but I got it for 21. And I got this hardtail, aluminum hardtail, for $2,100. And back then, it was the latest and greatest technology, and that was my race bike. That was literally the top end, top of the line, and it kind of amazes me how we've slowly gotten used to crazy prices for really decent bikes. So this bike, I can tell you right now, where you have some sacrifices is the front fork. And the wheels are going to be heavy, but the front fork is going to be the most limiting factor on that bike. Just I can tell right away. The shock is actually okay. I've ridden the X Fusion O2 Pro R shock. Well, they couldn't come up with a more longer name for that, could they? And they're decent. X Fusion does actually excellent shocks. RockShox do good shocks, but all the silvers, the Recon silvers and the golds, they're subpar. They're not as good. If I were to buy a suspension fork, I would not get that. I would get something else. I would splurge. I would try to get something else. But that's a decent bike right there. That's 1,500 bucks for that right there. That's a decent bike. All right. So here we go. I remember. Here we go. That's $2,200. That's what I bought my bike back in '94. I remember. Um, so there's nothing wrong with that bike. That's a perfect bike. You certainly would not need and or want anything really much different than that right there. If you're doing some trail riding, it looks a little bit more heavy duty than cross country, but again, if you're not racing, that's perfect. That's beautiful. You don't need to spend more. In fact, I think that's a lot of money if you think about it. Um, so going down the list, Giant makes good bikes. Um, I really like Giant. Is one of my favorite brands. I have a Giant Anthem 29er. I really really like it. You can't go wrong with a Giant. So that's a really good bike. I personally don't have much experience with Comenco, but that's a good bike. There's nothing wrong with the bike. But now we're getting into the really expensive part, isn't it? It's kind of like amazing what we spend nowadays on mountain bikes. That's a good bike too. Um, all these notice of all the higher priced bikes, not a single one is a hardtail. Um, there's just little to no reason for it anymore. Um, that's a nice bike. I like the yellow. That's nice. That's a nice bike too. All these are good. Is this one better than that one? No, it's just certain price points. Specialized is okay. Specialized is one of those brands that you either love or you love to hate. Uh, and I think I love to hate them. Um, Getting past that, Trek. I really like Treks. Treks are good bikes. They feel good. The feeling on a Trek is pretty consistent. I've owned many Treks in my life. And going back to 10 years, 13 years ago, I owned a Trek, and you get on one today, and for someone that says, "Oh, it feels completely different," it's like, no, it still kind of feels like a Trek. So I like that. Norcos actually surprised me. I owned a Norco not too long ago. I had a Norco, and it was an aluminum model, and I was just blown away of how good it felt, how dialed in it was. Um, and so this is a good bike right here. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Um, so I was looking at some other brands. Some of the brands that I like. Like I said, I like Trek, and I was looking at some of those prices. I mean, if you want something really pretty decent, I mean, they're 3, 4, 5. I mean, are you kidding me? $9,000 for a bike? Does it have an? I can buy a car for that. In fact, I can probably get a decent car for 9,000. Um, so I actually think, my own personal opinion, that the bike industry is pulling one over us. And I think so because the pricing has gotten out of control. I want to talk to you about materials that they use for bikes and where it is important and where it isn't important, and the pricing that they put a sticker on. I mean, you're paying for a sticker. Don't kid yourself. So for full suspension mountain bikes, if you're not racing, you don't need carbon. If you're not sponsored, you don't need carbon. In fact, it's better that you use aluminum. Aluminum is super stiff. It's a super stiff material. I used to race on an aluminum hardtail back when that was the thing to do, to have aluminum hardtails. The only complaint that you would have is it's a harsh ride because it's so stiff. Okay, so think about that for a second. What you want on a full suspension mountain bike is really good suspension technology, geometry, that worked out, but you also want it to be stiff and durable. So having a super expensive mountain bike that's made out of carbon and put some suspension on it, well, what's the carbon going to do? It's not going to make a softer or better ride. You already have the suspension. So if you're looking at a full suspension bike and you're not racing and you're not sponsored and you're not looking at racing or getting sponsored anytime soon, then get an aluminum full suspension mountain bike. So these bikes here, the 8,000-9,000 bikes. Hey, listen, if you got money to burn, burn it. buy it, right? If you're the kind of guy that buys new cars, then do it, buy it, you know, do whatever you're gonna do. But if you're like a normal average Joe and you're scratching your head going, what do I actually need? I want something good, but what do I need? And what am I going to get the most enjoyment out of? You're not going to get any more enjoyment out of a carbon full suspension compared to an aluminum full suspension. Just anybody telling you that is full of shit. It's bullshit. All right, so Trek, you're out of the picture for now. So Niner, I really like Niners. They've kind of got themselves in a little bit of a corner because they started just because of when the 29er inch wheels came out, and they named themselves Niner. And they put themselves in such a bad corner because now you have the 27.5s or 650B, and what are they going to do? The Niner company is going to make 650Bs or 27.5s, so they're really like, oh no, we only do 29ers. That being said, their 29ers are really good, but their prices are kind of crazy sometimes. So I really like the Rips. I really like the Jet 9s, the Rip 9s, the new RKT, which you can call it Rocket 9. It's meant for racing. It looks really sweet. I think it's meant for speed, not for pleasure. But if you look at something like a Rip 9, so Rip 9 carbon, I mean, you got to have money to burn to buy that, right? And that's fine. If you're the kind of guy that's got money to burn, just buy it, man up, say I want it, and get it. But if you look at their aluminum one, let's look at that one. So this is like your trail ride, cross country / trail. You're not going to race. You want to enjoy it. You want to be out there. It's an aluminum frame, and the frame by itself, I guess they're charging $3,200. Ain't nobody going to buy the frame by itself. You're going to buy at least a 2-star build and have some spare parts, right? Anyway, so let's just call it $3,500 for a bike and a 2-star build. 2-star build isn't great by the way, but it is what it is. So I would at least get the SLX Plus build. Oh, not Plus. That's a Plus bike. Why are they doing that? Oh, that's how they're doing the 27.5. They're doing 27.5 Plus. That's $5,000. That's crazy. So I am like SLX or above. That's really good quality. Not the lightest, but it's really good quality. So XT, an XT Star build at $5,500 for an aluminum frame, it's outrageous. It's crazy to me. They're putting so much value on a frame that it's kind of crazy. It seems crazy. Or those are the carbon frames. That's why they don't even have the aluminum frames for sale. Look at that, $9,000. That's if you have the money to burn, then do it. It amazes me how much money some of these bikes cost. This video is going to turn out to be longer than I wanted to, but I think it's worth it. All right, next, Giant. I already told you guys I like Giant. Giant has a lot of value. Look at that. That's what it's supposed to kind of, well, not the 8,000, but that's what it's kind of supposed to look like. Even 2,700 is a lot. I mean, I like to spend, personally, $2,000 should get you a amazing, XT level full suspension bike. It really should, and it doesn't nowadays. I think they're all just putting way too much value on themselves and what they produce, and they're just charging it. I mean, someone is doing a good job in marketing, I think. I like Scott. I actually own a Scott Spark, which is a carbon, very nice. It's actually the last bike I raced, and I still own it. And it's a Scott Spark. It was a 26-inch bike, 26-inch wheels, and I converted it to 27.5. It actually fit. I'll do another video about that if you guys want. But and I also owned, for a while, I owned a Scott Spark 910. And I don't see a 910 here right now. But it was a carbon. It's probably 900, equivalent to a 900 today. But it was very good. I like the Scotts, but I also know that they have somewhat decent value in some aluminum frames, but their carbon frames, it's, full suspension carbon. They put such a premium on it, and don't kid yourselves. The expense of making a good quality carbon frame is not that high. It really isn't. They're just trying to say that they got some secret sauce, and their secret sauce is better than everybody else's secret sauce. That's all it is. But there's no secret sauce, guys. I mean, what we figured out with bikes, it's pretty much figured out. Everybody can say that, oh, we did this, and that's what makes us different. It's like, you moved it 2 millimeters. Holy moly! So the pricing is just kind of crazy. So I think what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to do a challenge. My first answer to the question is, what is the best new bike for 2017? It's none of these, guys. Not a single one. It's a used bike. That's the best bike. Get someone else's mistake or stupidity. So find. There's tons of bikes for sale all the time. You have Craigslist. You have some groups on social media that will post bikes for sale. You have Pink Bike. They have classifieds and bikes for sale. Get someone else's stupidity. So look at what I would look for is an aluminum, not carbon, full suspension frame or bike, and build it up yourself. Learn a little bit about cycling. Learn how to wrench on your own stuff. Learn how to put cranks on. If you don't know how to do it, go to a bike shop. Bring your frame and crank, or bring your frame. And if they're not willing to help you, then pick a different bike shop. They're obviously not the bike shop for you. A good bike shop is the kind of bike shop that will help you get better at what you want to do and what you want to be, not just one that sells stuff to you. I sometimes get people to say, oh, support your local bike shop. I will support my local bike shop as long as my local bike shop supports me. I buy a lot of stuff online. I find it convenient, and I do all my own wrenching. I've done all my wrenching, all my bike swaps and fork overhauls and everything I've done by myself, for myself, since the early 90s. It's not that difficult, and there's so many YouTube videos that will teach you and show you. Even the manufacturers are putting out videos on how to overhaul forks and stuff. And that's because everybody can do it themselves. It's not that hard. You follow the video by the T of the letter, and make sure you do it right. Anyways, so I'm going to do something fun here, guys. I'm going to put myself a price level. Let's say, what was the cheapest bike on that list here? Let me see here. Hardtail. Boom. $1,350. That's going to be the goal. So I am going to take $1,350 American, and I'm going to I'm not going to buy a bike. I'm going to buy a frame, and I'm going to build it up with some used parts, some new parts, some used parts, and I'm going to be under the $1,350, and I'll challenge anyone to compete or say that my new bike at that price or whatever is going to beat your bike because of whatever reason. I'll challenge you. So I'm gonna get one of the top brands, aluminum full suspension frames. I'm going to kit it up. It's gonna be, I can't promise it's gonna be XT, but it's gonna be SLX or better. And the shock and the fork is gonna be really good high level. And the best money you can spend when you're building a bike is on the wheels. And my wheels are going to be of high quality grade wheels that are lightweight and able still to take a pounding, so to speak. So I'm going to do that, but this video went way too long. So in short, the best new bike you could possibly buy for $1,350 or less is a full suspension used aluminum framed bike that you have to look over You know, you can't just buy blindly, but you got to look it over and make sure everything is good and whatnot. But if you take your time, you will have a bike that's worth several grand, 2, 3, 4 grand when you're done for that amount of price. If you take your time and be careful in how you buy your stuff. I promise you guys, I will do it. It's a challenge. I'm gonna look for a frame and start from there. You always start from the frame onwards, and it's gonna have some of the latest technologies. I'm gonna find a good quality frame and then build it up. And then when I'm done, I'm gonna do their big reveal. I might do some videos along the way because I'm too excited about it and show you guys what I've got. But yeah, the bike prices. Now this here is a pretty good deal, guys. Seriously, if you have $1,500 and you don't want to mess with anything, that's a pretty good deal. That being said, the first thing that is going to go is the fork. That fork is not great. All the RockShox, Recon silvers and golds of any shape, they're budget forks. They feel like budget forks. When you get into the Evos and Pikes, that's when they're really good. And with Foxes, they don't really have super cheap forks. I haven't seen them. They're all Fox floats. They're good forks. X-Fusion makes really good forks. They're affordable, but they make really good forks, and so on. There's a lot of fork makers, anyways. So that's an interesting little video. I'm gonna have a lot of follow-up videos on this one because I am gonna do that build, and you guys will be able to see every step of the way of that build, so you can follow on that side. But the best new bike for 2017 is someone else's mistake. Get a full suspension, aluminum frame bike, and you guys won't be sorry. You're gonna have so much fun building it. You're gonna have even more fun riding it. When you're out there riding, ride safe.